Welcome to the first episode of the podcast, Unfamiliar Ceilings. I am joined by Axon, and he just watched all of the Star Wars movies, including the new ones and The Mandalorian. And I rewatched all the movies with him. I'm pretty kept up with The Mandalorian.
All ten movies, and then The Mandalorian. Right?
Yes. I was about to say 9, but Rogue One.
3 trilogies, and Rogue One.
Alright, so what'd you think? What
Overall,
Hold on. What was your first impression of episode 1? Because that's
With
the
Luke?
order that we watched it. It's in numerical order.
no, we didn't.
Yeah, we
We
did.
didn't start with Luke. We started with Anakin.
No, I said numerical order.
Yeah,
As in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh,
Yeah.
completely forgot.
So what'd you think of episode 1? That was your first impression of the Star Wars.
Let's see what happened in episode 1. We were introduced to Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin. I liked it. I mean, I liked the other ones more.
Right.
The other movies that were part of that trilogy more. Um,
I mean,
But-
who doesn't like the Clone Wars? You know, the whole fight. I think that was like one of the best scenes.
Well, if we're talking about episode 1, I liked it. Overall, the whole series, I loved Star Wars.
Mm.
I really liked Star Wars. I was hoping I would like Star Wars too, cause like it's really popular.
Yeah, it's really big. It's a big world of Star Wars, dude.
I just before I watched it, I had no opinion,
Mm.
cause I didn't want to have an opinion on it if I
Mhm.
never watched it. I don't want to say it was bad, but I didn't want to say it was good either. I was
Mhm.
hoping it would be good, cause of how popular it is.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah. I'm not a mega fan nor a super fan compared to everybody else.
Hmm.
I'm just a fan.
For me, like I watch, like I think I had episode 3 and 6, and maybe 2 on VCR. So I rewatched like the movies. Not completely. I just rewatched the same like episodes here and there. So I wasn't a super fan either, but I am a fan. And like I did grow up with it.
Yeah, you're
But I
more-
know that there are super fans with tattoos on them, with a lot of Star Wars merchandise, and they know every sub culture that Star Wars has, which is a lot, dude.
Yeah, I don't think I would get to that point. Not because I can't, just because I don't want to. I mean, yeah, Star Wars is good. And I could see, I understand why people are that big of a fan
Mm.
and why they would go that far. But I don't want to.
It's
I just want to stay a fan. Like I'm excited about Star Wars and their new shows or more movies that they come out
Mm.
with more. I just want to stay like that. Just excited about their
Mm.
everything that they're doing.
To me, it's just a lot of time because there's so much. I mean, has been going on since 77, right? 1977.
1977. That surprised me. I didn't know it went back that far.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a bunch of like culture built around this, so I just don't want to dive in deep and just keep learning of all these subgenres. I mean, there's a lot. I've been watching YouTube videos about it, trying to see like what might be missing, and it looks like we're gonna be catching up with all these new shows that they're putting out. But back to the movies. We have the original trilogy, which is 4, 5, 6. We have the
Mhm.
prequels, which is 1, 2, 3, and we have
The sequels.
the sequels,
79.
9.
And then we have Rogue One. To
Rogue
me,
One.
I am very curious on how the audience or fans reacted when Rogue One came out and when they actually watched it.
Mm.
Either they were I think, in my opinion, either they were very disappointed until the end, until like the last 10 minutes
When Darth
of the
Vader came
movie.
in, or like you talking about like the plot?
Uh, the plot, also when Darth Vader, cause it's very recent, or
Mm-hmm.
it came out in 2016, and in 1986,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, was when uh episode 4, 5, 6, episode 6 is when Darth Vader died, right?
Yes.
And then they took down the Empire.
Yeah.
1986 is when that movie came out. So Darth Vader died, and then he came back in 2016. Wait, how many years is that? 30 years later?
Mm-hmm.
30 years
Something
later,
like that. Yeah.
he came back at the end of that movie. I think fans were super excited about that, but overall in the movie they were disappointed because they were like, they were introduced to these new characters, but like it all just didn't matter really
Mm-hmm.
in the end. It was just for the plot to see how
It
the
was
Death
just
Star.
yeah. It was just one simple goal in that movie.
Yeah.
They got introduced to all these characters, which I really like the main character, the girl. I forgot her name, but I really liked her. I thought she would like somehow be part of like the resistance later on. But either way, I think it was like ideal. That way you get like a because they're trying in. I don't know if you noticed, but in the new movies, they were trying to get more more attachment to the other side. Like Finn, it's a stormtrooper that turned to the resistance. So they're trying to like make this war a bigger deal. Like you're more attached to the war.
Mm.
So I feel like that's why they killed off every single character in there.
Which I was like,
But also, I
really?
can't tell you when I saw that in theaters, Darth Vader was a big shit. Like people cheered.
I think that made up for the movie and the whole plot and
Mm.
just the whole movie.
More
I think.
killing, yeah.
Well, mostly Darth Vader coming back, us seeing R2D2 deliver the plans to Leia.
Yeah, so it all connects at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I really liked how that the end of that movie continues at the beginning of episode 4, like
Mm.
like so, like it connects really well.
Yeah.
Like it's right after Leia
Mm.
got the message.
See, when I was at theaters, I didn't really like. I just went in knowing that this was Star Wars,
Mhm.
so I didn't know it was just for one fucking purpose. And so like, when I saw the end, I was like, oh, like I picked up clues like in like the middle, but I was just like, this is before.
Yeah, I can't imagine being that confused watching a movie
Mm.
that about a series that I'm really excited about,
Mm.
and being that confused until the very end where you now know what the reason of that movie was made for.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I put it in the order that it was. But which
Trilogy.
which trilogy did you like better?
That's tough.
It is tough.
That is
It is
very
tough
tough.
because let me explain how like the fandom is. Actually, no. Answer first, and then I'll explain how the fandom
No, that
likes
scares me.
likes this.
That scares me. Um, I might regret saying this, but I think the first trilogy. Wait, which one do you count as the first trilogy?
Uh,
One,
3,
two.
4, 3, 4, 5.
Okay,
I mean,
so the
4, 5,
first.
6. I mean,
So the first trilogy that came out.
yeah, the original.
Okay.
We call the original the trilogy, and then we call the sequels and the prequels the other ones.
Okay, I don't
Yeah.
use sequel or prequel.
Yeah.
I don't ever use that. I will now. The original trilogy is at the bottom of my list,
Mm.
but there's like multiple reasons, and I think how Star Wars did the original and then came out with the prequel trilogies and then the sequel. It is both very genius, but in a way they messed up.
Mm.
Cause since they did the original trilogy, and then after they went back in time, they made the prequel more dope than the original.
Mm.
I think that was a mistake because watching it in chronological order, one, two, three,
It messed
four,
you
five,
up because of
six,
the graphics.
it messed me up because of the action really,
Mm.
because it looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi was like not Obi-Wan Kenobi. All the fighting scenes were just like, what the heck is this? In the prequel, they made it like they made the uh the Jedi scenes a lot more cooler, and just their skills were felt like real Jedi fighting and
Wait, so you're
not in the
saying the original trilogy had better fighting than the prequels,
no, the
or
prequel
the
had
other way
better
around?
fighting
Okay.
and it made it like better, but the fact that when we go from the prequel to the original
Mm.
made it seem just a bit off, like
Yeah.
this it feels like this isn't right, this shouldn't go this way, or that should have happened, or I feel like they could have made this scene better, and
Mm.
I think that's where they messed up.
See, all right. First, let me. Actually, no. I'll explain this. Since it's so far apart from each other,
Mm-hmm.
they had very low budget because it was the 70s. So you know how like the lightsaber go from a stick glowing to then like it looks better in the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the stuff that they wanted, because this is a space adventure. That's what George Lucas explains it to be. And so when they got CGI, he was able to actually like everything that he imagined, he was able to bring it to life. So you know how like Yoda in the original trilogy,
He looked like a Muppet.
he looked like a Muppet and also did pretty much nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's because he was like limited to moving three or six steps every time. I
No,
mean, when he was in his house, like he'd moved, like, like, if
like
he
a
was,
Muppet.
yeah.
No, I completely understand that, and that's
It's,
why I try to keep in mind
mm,
while watching the original, because I'm like, all right, this movie was made, what, 30 years, not 30 years, but like 20 years earlier than the prequel.
mm,
So I went from watching a pretty good movie to a movie that was made in the 70s.
yeah,
And I try to keep in mind, like, these are also the first movies that they came out with of Star Wars. So, like, I knew that they had budgets and that they can do,
mm,
that's not going to be the same as the prequels or look as good. I try to keep that in mind, but it still threw me off. I'm like, ooh, I don't really like this.
mm.
But I do understand that this was 20 years ago if we were watching the prequel.
Yeah. Try to focus more on the storyline.
No, yeah, even
But
with the storyline, it's still at the trilogy is still at the bottom of my list.
all right, which one is at the top?
That's where it's tough for me. I don't know if I like the story of the prequel more than the sequel, or the
Mm.
sequel more than the prequel, because the sequels just look really cool, and
Sequel to the
the story, all the stories are different in the trilogies,
Mm.
and they're all really interesting. That's why I can't really decide. I guess we have to watch it again.
um, to me, it is the prequels.
Well,
Then
from
basically in chronological order is how
your
I would rate
favorite?
them. Yeah.
Okay.
Which, let me explain the fandom. The fandom, or like the fans, I think they will always prefer the original first, the original trilogy. Then it's the
prequel
prequels,
and the sequels.
and then the sequels.
Yeah, I
A lot of
figured.
people don't like the sequels,
Yeah.
and I understood that at first, but rewatching them now, I'm like, this. It's not the same Star Wars vibe, but it does connect and it does flow. But there's a reason for that, because George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney
When?
right before when he was trying to make the reboot, because he was gonna start doing the Star Wars things again, like the Star Wars movies, because he wrote them. He wrote episodes 1 through 9, and then I think they threw his script out and they kept like a little bit of it. And he said if he was gonna help, like he wanted to like really be a part of it, but if not, then he doesn't want to be any part of it. I think he said that in an interview. I might be mistaken, but they got like a different type of writers in there. It's animated differently, but they didn't completely ruin it, in my opinion. I think it flows together with the plot line. It does wrap up with the old characters, and I mean, even though they killed off the original team except for Chewie and
Chewbacca.
Lando, I think R2 is still alive, right? The droids are still alive.
Yeah.
Even though they killed like the three main characters, it still flowed, and their deaths
Made sense.
made sense.
Yeah, I could see why the fans or the OG fans don't like the sequel as much, and I see where it doesn't have the Star Wars vibe from the original.
Mm.
But I mean, I feel like people are over exaggerate about the difference between the original and the sequel,
Mm.
and they make it like a bigger deal than it is really, and so they're just like, nah, we're not gonna agree with this, or we're not gonna support this being a good Star Wars trilogy. Or
Yeah, a lot of people make shit on the fact that the lightsabers fights are different too. And at the beginning, I could tell like it wasn't as good as the old Star Wars. But then again, Rey wasn't a Jedi yet.
she was barely a Padawan.
Yeah, I
If you
don't.
really
She
think
wasn't
about
anything
it.
actually for a while, so
Yeah.
it made sense. But I can see why people shit on it. But yeah, that is my order.
About the fights, I think in order from my least favorite to my favorite, I think it's the original. I mean, I understand because it's in the 70s and these were the first movies. Obviously, might not be as epic or as dope as the most recent ones.
Mm.
Um, a lot of people did not like the fights in the sequels, but I thought they were pretty good. I didn't
Oh
think
yeah, I mean
any of them were
CGI and
bad.
everything was very good.
Yeah, I didn't
I
think
can
any
agree
of
with
them
that.
were bad. I thought the least any of the fights would be okay,
Mm.
but that's still like a 7 out of 10. All the others, I'd give it either 7 or higher.
To me, I think the one versus Luke and Darth Vader is iconic. So I really like that, and then I like the fight between Yoda and I forgot who was fighting when he was doing all the flips and shit.
In the prequel,
Yeah,
you said it earlier. I don't know.
is it Count Dooku?
Yes, that guy
It might be that guy.
with the weird handle. No,
Oh yeah, with the weird handle. Yeah.
yeah, it's that guy. Oh my God, Yoda. I think that's where it messed me up the most. of the difference between Yoda in the prequel and the sequel.
Oh yeah, because that
'Cause in
dude
the
was moving.
Dude, in the prequel, oh my god, he was so dope. He was like crazy. He was the best.
Hmm.
The best Jedi. In my eyes. I'm like, this guy's like what, 2 feet tall?
Yeah.
And he's doing all these flips and like it's nothing. And then
He was kicking ass too, like completely.
yeah, and then in the original, he did nothing.
Yeah,
He
basically.
picked up a
I mean,
ship.
he
Did
just
was he in any fights?
in the original.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't in any fights.
No fights. Looked like a Muppet. Walked around like a Muppet. I mean, I liked how they wanted him to be goofy and silly.
Oh yeah, he was very funny in the
Original.
originals. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I like
cool.
that.
Do you know anything of like George Lucas?
I know nothing of George Lucas.
Um. Be before he made Star Wars, he was like starving and he was a struggling director. He made this movie called Graffiti, and then I think before that, I think Fox or Warner Brothers let him go, but they told him to write like an adventure, story or space story because I think he pitched that,
Mm.
and so he wrote at 1 through 6, I think, like he wrote like a big ass script, and then he released the Graffiti movie, and then he published, or then he took like I think like 3 rewrites of the script for Star Wars. In the original, it wasn't Luke Skywalker, it was Star Killer
What do you mean?
or Sky Killer, like that was his last name. That was
Oh, Sky Killer.
yeah. Yeah, I think they're gonna add a character that's called Sky Killer now too.
Mm.
Um,
See now it would be cool, but if like his original name was Sky Killer, I would have been like, that's
the only reason they changed it is because there was like a famous serial killer around the time, and people thought that he was making a serial killer movie.
Oh
Yeah,
no, that makes sense.
yeah. So they switched it like I think 2 days before shooting or something like that.
Skywalker. I think Skywalker was the best way to go
Yeah,
rather than Sky Killer. Wouldn't feel the same.
I don't think it would be as iconic as it is.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, he worked on this like script for a long time, and I think the reason why they did 4, 5, 6 is because he was gonna keep on going with 7, 8, 9, and then like after he published or he released Star Wars, like the original trilogy, he got enough credibility to write the prequels by himself, and supposedly that's why people didn't like it as much because it was like his own style or whatever. Like he didn't have like any other help because in the company I think they said that nobody wanted to give the input to like the main guy because George Lucas was like this famous person, and like what would you have to say to a guy that with that much success? And so he did that basically by himself, and like with the CGI, he said like that was probably like how he envisioned it the most.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I forgot why he stopped. I think he moved on to some other projects, but it is crazy how like, because he like read like a bunch of books. He read like biblical books and a bunch of space things, and then I think what like the main concepts of Star Wars, like the baselines, he got it from another movie, and he was like trying to buy the rights to that movie and remake it, but he couldn't, like the studio couldn't afford it, or he couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took like literally like all the basics from that, like the Emperor, the pilots, and I think the like Space Knights. He took it from that movie and then he made his own. Like imagine we wouldn't have like any Star Wars. We would have just had like another, like probably a classic of these other movies. So
Savage.
it's crazy to say like he took that from inspiration basically, And like he stole, or he didn't steal, but he was inspired by a lot of concept in these books that he was reading about like space adventures. Like Han was originally gonna be a frog, and then like there was so many things that could have made it into production that last minute changed, because I think the third script or fourth script got approved. So like those other scripts could have been the movie. I think that's crazy. And now we have a bunch of like subgenres. We have the Mandalorian. We have, I mean, the Bad Batch, Ashoka. We have like all these things coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's crazy, from like being built off of this guy that's like starving at like a struggling director, and then he just blew up.
That just shows you many things.
Mm-hmm. Do you get a sense of meaning from Star Wars, like some type of like
Life lesson.
yeah, life lesson?
Star Wars, a lot of. I'm sure there's some big ones, but for me, I just get like a lot of little ones, I guess. What do you get? What life lessons do you see?
Because they really paint this picture of black and white, right? The
Mhm.
Jedis are good, the Sith are bad.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, so I mean, look at Anakin. Did you feel like he was gonna turn into Darth Vader all this time throughout the whole?
Well, first of all, I knew
Yeah,
before
you
I
knew.
watched, because Star Wars has been out for a very long time. People talk about it
Yeah.
here and there. I always see it somewhere, even though I don't intentionally look for it or look for any of it.
Mm.
I always see it somewhere in social media or like on YouTube. And so I've seen random things so many times where I know what happens or who's who.
Right, right.
But if I didn't know anything, I would not know, not in the first movie.
Mm.
I would have a hunch in the second movie, and
Mhm.
then at the end of second movie, I think I would know like this guy's different. This guy really shows his emotions, and as a Jedi, where you're not really supposed to.
Mm.
And then by the end of the second movie, I think I'd be like, yeah, this guy's gonna go a different path than
Mhm.
all these other Jedi. And by the third movie, we know for sure that, well,
A lot of people don't like the actor that acted as Anakin,
why not?
because they said he was monotone.
What do you mean?
Like he didn't talk normally. Like he talked like monotone, like slowly, and like his acting was bad. But George Lucas explains that it was perfect because he knew that he was already turning to Darth Vader. I mean, everyone knew that
Mm-hmm.
because of the original trilogy. And he's saying how he was like, he lacked to show empathy or like emotions like everyone else because he had a rough childhood. I mean, he was a slave for this guy, the flying blue dude.
Mm-hmm.
I forget his name. But supposedly, like it explains later on in like comics or storylines or whatever that he was being till like his arms were blue and his legs were blue, and his mom was also a slave, and so Qui-Gon, when he had the chance to like come back and free his mom because his mom was also a slave, they just took Anakin.
But he didn't get the chance to save his mom or to free his mom.
No,
The-
like there was plenty of times, but like as the Jedi Code explained is that you can't have attachments,
Oh.
right? So they didn't like accept that. So they could have bought her off. They could have freed her. Or they could have come back and saved her after all this time. because Anakin was like grown by that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, he was trained as a Jedi by Qui-Gon against the Jedi Council, right? So he already feels like he was
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
no Qui-Gon at first, because Qui-Gon was like, no, I'll be the one to train him if you guys don't want to.
Oh, we're still in the first movie.
Yeah, we're still in the first
Okay.
one. And then after that, he's like rejected by the whole council, and Qui-Gon's like, nah, this boy different. He's the chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Jedi Council already like is rejecting. He feels rejected basically, or I would imagine that he does. And then after that, he's like stronger than the council, and the council still doesn't want to give him any responsibilities. And then drives him further into Palpatine, which is manipulating him, but he's the one that supports him the most out of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Jedi Council is already losing him to the dark side without even knowing. And then he becomes a council member of the Jedi Order, or the Jedi Council. And then he is not a Master Jedi. They reject him, and that is the first time that's happened. And so he thinks it's ridiculous, and they basically tell him that, hey, fuck off. You're the part of this or not. And then so at the end, like the cherry on top, the Emperor is just like, oh, there's ways to find power to save Padme. And then this, like, he's desperate at this point because he can dream the future. He proved that with his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? His mom was like calling for his help, and he couldn't go back because the Jedi Council said, no, like, don't let your visions block you.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes, and he's too late. He feels fucking shitty because his mom has been calling out for so long.
And he could have done something, but the Jedi Order did.
He could have done something for so long. Couldn't do anything because of the Jedi Council.
His whole life, no?
Yeah.
He had dreams or nightmares of his mom.
I don't think his whole life, but like it's like it came back when she was actually in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So he already knows that like he can dream the future, and then he dreams something about Padme dying, and so now he's desperate to help her. And then Emperor Palpatine says like, "Oh yeah, the Jedi know this, but you're not a master, so you can't see into the vault of like all the Jedi power because the Jedi Council limits the knowledge of what the Force can attain." And then he tells him, he's like, the dark side can do that. The dark side can help you there. And then he tells him the story of Palpatine's master, which is Plagueis. And he says that he can help him like realize that. So right now he's thinking about the dark side, but in a good way, as in like he just wants to save
Padme.
And so when Mace Windu goes and is about to kill the counselor, he's thinking of like what the right thing is to do, and it's like it's to stand trial.
Mm-hmm.
And Mace Windu is like, nah, he's like too dangerous to keep alive. And so he just provided a good option of like the good thing to do. And Mace Windu said something basically dark to like kill him off.
Mm-hmm.
And so he chooses to, fucking kill Mace Windu. And Palpatine's like, oh yeah, like this is, you can now become my apprentice and I can help you save Padme. And so that's just like the cherry on top. Like the guy that he most trusted is all facade, and then the people that he looks up to, which is the Jedi Council, just told him something against the Jedi rules. So he was like conflicted this whole time. And that's what leads into the trilogy, that he was always conflicted. He did all this for Padme, and Padme ended up dying anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Luke came in, I think that's like his final connection to like Anakin, and his conflict came back, and that is the only reason that he helped kill Palpatine.
I think hearing more details about the prequel that you may have missed, and explained to you. Like some of that of what you just told me right now,
Mm.
I kind of missed, or not missed, but didn't put together all the way.
Mm.
And I think hearing that makes the plot of the prequel and all the whole trilogy so much better.
Like more significant, huh?
Yeah, the story just makes your opinion just makes you think the prequel was so much better than you think it really was.
Mm.
And then that makes me think the story of Darth Vader, of Anakin, his whole life story, makes me feel like didn't they didn't live up to it in the original.
Mm.
And if Star Wars was planning to do the original, then the prequel, then the sequel, I feel like they should have at least known that they had to uh, give it justice,
Mm.
give Darth Vader justice of like how he would go out or how he would be in the original trilogy.
Mm.
And to me, they didn't give the prequel justice with the original.
Mm.
That's why I think I like the prequel more than the original.
Okay.
Because the story was just so good. And they didn't live up to it in the original.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
Um, going on to the trilogy, you see Luke and how he grows up. You remember like your first impression was just like Anakin was way better at his age than Luke is right now because he was playing with like a fucking spaceship when you first saw him, right? I remember your first impression being like, "Yo, what the fuck is this kid doing?"
Him being more of a child than Anakin
Yeah.
was at age 10 or
Mhm.
9.
So you see Luke, and he is way different from how Anakin acted,
Mm-hmm.
and so you see him like more lightly, like just cruising on by like his life,
Mm-hmm.
and like he has friends, and he goes and like he joins Obi-Wan. Like it's more light. I feel Luke was more connected to the light side than Anakin ever was. And Luke's story, or the original trilogy, you see that he wasn't like as connected to the Force, or not connected, but he didn't have so much knowledge of the Jedi way. And then you see that in the sequels, that he sees all the mistakes and all the flaws between the Jedi code and the Sith code, because they deal in all these Jedi codes that kind of restrict them from doing something. It's kind of contradictory at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Rey, and Rey doesn't really read any of the books until like later on, and she sees the problem, and she's connected to Kylo Ren, and you see how they're having this eternal fight with each other with connections and all of that. So you see that the Jedi code and the Sith code are very black and white. I mean, they say that the Sith deals with absolute, and then um, the Jedi have to have no connection. They only have peace in mind and all these. But I think you can't really have these good intentions without the connection towards like life on Earth, and the Force is all about how life is surrounded by everything, and so it's very black and white. And towards these sequels, I think they were trying to show that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, it kind of deals with like, I don't know if you noticed, but Rey's lightsaber at the end was yellow,
Uh-huh.
and that either means that she is like, that's a bootleg lightsaber in general, or that she's a gray Jedi, which I'm pretty sure this is the first time you hear gray Jedi.
Yeah.
So gray Jedi is someone that is not fully towards the light side or the dark side.
It's between.
It's in between. They have their own moral codes, and it is like kind of like not dealing absolutes, and then and not like being towards evil. Like they have their codes change a lot during the Star Wars things, and it's not canon or anything like that. But it does exist. I think in the Clone Wars, which we'll probably check out next if you're really interested in
Yeah, I want to watch it for sure.
diving into. I haven't fully watched that either, but I kind of want to, especially because the Bad Batch kind of relates to that. But either way, they have these other like sub Jedi's. I mean, there's something called Dark Jedi's that isn't really part of the evil side or the Sith side. They're just Jedi's that aren't like the Jedi Council doesn't acknowledge them, or they were kicked out because they weren't following the Jedi code like directly.
So, they're not. The Jedi don't like them, but
It's either that or they're kicked out for some reason.
either way, they don't want them, or like.
Yeah, they're not part of the Jedi Council or anything like that.
Yeah, so I'm guessing. What are they called? Dark Jedi.
Dark Jedi.
I'm guessing the Dark Jedi just got kicked out of the Jedi Council, and they're like, well, we wanted to be Jedi. We wanted to be with them, but since they don't want to be with us, we'll just stay as Jedi, but just not with the Council. But we don't want to be with the dark side, so we'll just.
It also they kind of use the dark side of the Force for their powers, but I don't think they either do like all of them. They don't all do good, and they all don't do bad.
So they're like.
So they're basically like the other side of the Grey Jedi's. I feel like the Grey Jedi's use the light side of the Force, but they have their own moral code.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're similar with the Grey Jedi, just that they both have their moral code, but they use the dark side more than the light side.
So, as I told you beforehand when we were watching the movies, every lightsaber has a color
and a meaning.
In a meaning. And so supposedly Mace Windu, which it makes sense now. I heard that they only made it purple because of Samuel L. Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber. They made it happen. But another thing that they explain is that Mace Windu uses some like dark thoughts or dark morals as a way of fueling his way to the Force, or in some typical way of that. So when he was like about to kill Palpatine, he wasn't really going towards the dark side. He had like this kind of moral obligation to be like, this is why, or this is my job or my duty to keep balance in the world.
So he was just doing what he thought was right.
Yeah, and so that's why his lightsaber was purple, because supposedly you can, the crystals that they use to power the lightsaber is it either has a distant color already, like it's already that color when you find it, or it changes due to your thoughts or connection to the Force.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so the blue and green is basically the same thing, but supposedly it's like the rank or the perspective of the Jedi, which is either this or that. I really forget about it, and then, red is evil. And then yellow is supposedly of the gray Jedis. It's either that or they're bootleg lightsabers.
I don't think they're bootleg. I think Rey has the yellow lightsaber for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I hope it's double-sided like Darth Maul's. I just really hope, because she had that stick for so long.
And I think she fights better with the stick.
Yeah, honestly, so...
So having a lightsaber that's double-sided wouldn't make sense.
I mean, they kind of like foreshadowed it a little bit, no?
Yeah,
so the
dude.
dark side Rey.
Yeah,
that was
unfolded.
dope.
Oh, that was so cool.
That was when she clapped that shit back. I was like, oh, that's hot.
It probably. Well, I'm hoping that it is, but they just didn't show it.
I think it was just foreshadowing. I'm pretty sure they're gonna keep on going with the movies.
Um, but I'm pretty sure hers isn't a bootleg version of a lightsaber.
Mm.
I'm really hoping that it does have a meaning, and like the meaning is like, well, she found true peace, or not true peace, but like her own way of the difference between the Sith and the Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
or their problems,
Mm-hmm.
and that she realizes that they're both not, they're both wrong in their own way,
Yeah,
and that she knows what's right or wrong now, like herself.
and that's why I brought up the Great Jedi, because the whole movie is about how the Jedi will fuck things up. I mean that's what Luke thought. It's just like the Jedi can't live anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I am the last Jedi. And then he comes to realize that maybe we do need Rey to defeat the dark side. I mean, she is different. Coochie man. And then Kylo Ren's trying to do the same thing at the third movie. He's trying to defeat the Sith Lord. And Luke's already dead. It's a wrap. But he was also trying to control the whole world and bring peace in his own way or whatever.
He was trying to stop the what's it called, the Order and the Resistance.
Yeah.
Like none of them are right.
Yeah, so he was already, I don't want to say scarred, but he already had in his mind that both sides are wrong, and he can have a better side because he comes from both. And then Rey comes in, and she really didn't have a side at first. I mean, she admired the light side, and then she didn't like the dark side because they were killing people. I mean, it's like a moral kind of obligation type of thing. And I think her lightsaber is yellow to kind of hint to all the fans that she is a great Jedi with a new type of perspective on the whole thing. Especially because Luke at the end realized that the Jedi isn't the whole way. And then Yoda came in and he was just like, she knows everything that she needs to know. So in that sense, I really like the sequels for that. That they're recognizing that it's not black or white. There's things that people do in order to be good, but it's really bad. Just like Anakin turned to the dark side in order to save Padme.
See, I think knowing all that, more details about the movies, like the real meaning behind them, just makes them so much better.
Right?
And I think the original just helps the prequel and the sequel trilogies have a better meaning behind them. I think that's what the original trilogy does really good in.
We kind of see this with the Mandalorian too. He's following his own tribe's code and everything, and then he bumps into these other people that can take off their mask, and they're from Mandalore. They're from a different tribe, and so he's kind of fighting this these. He's internally thinking about these codes, and I think that is what is good about Star Wars, is that they're showing this kind of internal struggle of what belief is.
I think I think I saw that really well in The Mandalorian. By the way, The Mandalorian. I love The Mandalorian.
Great.
At some point, or some of the parts in Mandalorian, I like it more than the movies. And that just makes me really think back. I really enjoyed these movies and the story and the meaning behind them. and um, thinking back about those movies just also makes me think of the Mandalorian even more and the meaning behind them.
Mm.
Just makes me love all of them together.
Mm.
I think they. I don't know. I've been trying to find this word for a while, but I can't really find it. But I think they support each other really well.
Oh yeah, it's really really well connected. I mean, Mandalorians aren't even mentioned in Star Wars, but we kind of fell in love with the style it is because it is a Star Wars style. It connects very well. Now I'm pretty sure a lot of people just watched because of Baby Yoda, which isn't Yoda,
Grogu.
but Grogu.
Grogu. Spoilers.
And the fact that it looks like the Fett's, Boba Fett and Jango Fett. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason.
For a long time, I thought the Mandalorian was a stormtrooper because I mean you can't blame me because they have a similar
look, aesthetic.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll just use similar look and aesthetic to the stormtroopers. So
fun fact, it was supposed to be that way. They were supposed to have a new set of commanders, kind of like the Chrome stormtrooper in the sequels. No sequels.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the budget to have a bunch of Boba Fett's around, so they only made one and made him a bounty hunter.
I think that was the better way to go.
Yeah, so it was by like choice. It was just by budget, but it kind of came out to like the best. And so, like right now that we have like a whole tribe of them, I think it's very fucking dope. But a lot of people fell in love with Boba Fett, and that's why we have the Mandalorian. Because he was supposed to be a stormtrooper, and you get the same vibes, but it wasn't originally supposed to be like that. He was supposed to be a part of the stormtroopers.
I think I'm pretty sure everybody can agree with me on this. Boba Fett is way better now than he was in the original.
Oh yeah.
In the original, he did nothing. He was nothing.
He was there for looks, man. Come on.
Huh?
He was there for looks.
Exactly. Only thing. He just got eaten like it was nothing. He got accidentally shot in the jetpack and fell into the monster's mouth.
Han did that, no?
I think one of the stormtroopers or something. Because they were getting attacked. I don't know. I could have seen wrong. But they really did him justice.
Yeah. I mean, he goes hard. I was going to say something else. Oh! George Lucas also said that Star Wars is basically a big soap opera just in space. And I really got that from like the whole storyline. I mean, think about it. We get the dad or the grandpa and the grandma, and they go through
What are you talking about?
Anakin and Padme.
Okay.
And then we get their kids, Luke and Leia, which was dope to see that Leia was trained to be a Jedi.
I didn't. Even you were surprised.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all, but that was dope to see.
Did they explain why she didn't? She stopped. It was because of Ben, right?
Yeah, I think she said that.
She sensed that he was in danger. Not in danger, but like something was wrong, and that she had to like save or be with their child. And that's why she stopped training, no?
I think so. I can't remember her explanation, but she did say that she had to stop, and then that someone else will pick up her lightsaber.
Yeah.
Which Rey, but that was dope. I didn't know that she was trained to be a Jedi.
That was a good shock. And
then she beat Luke, so that means either that she was at his level or better. But yeah, going on from that is then it's the story of the grandchildren, which is Rey and Ben. Which do you think Ben is? It's obviously named after Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then we see their story of like how their er, grandparents and parents, like all their stuff has been just put on their shoulders, basically. I mean, they're connected to the whole thing by default,
Mhm.
and so is Luke and Leia a little bit, but like it all started with Anakin. But the whole story is like it's crazy to see it wrapped up how the way it was.
I enjoyed how it ended. If that's like the the final movie, not the final movie, but like the way the whole story ends and it's
Mhm.
wrapped up, I am satisfied with it. But also, you could tell that there are gonna be like there gonna be some stories that has to pick up with the yellow lightsaber. And
Not only that, but the fact that she wrapped up the lightsabers, both of them,
mm-hmm.
little Christmas present right there, and then put it in the ground, means that someone's eventually gonna find it, or else she would have just thrown into the fucking sea like Kylo Ren did with his lightsaber. You know, which kind of means that maybe someone will find that lightsaber too, and be like, oh, like my uncle had this. With another shock though was Rey was a son of, or was a daughter
Granddaughter of Palpatine.
Palpatine. That was
Oh, I did
crazy.
not see that coming.
Yeah, me neither.
You know, for a second or for a minute in the beginning of the trilogy,
Mm.
I thought she was the daughter of Luke. I thought Luke was her dad.
Yeah, I thought so too. Um,
Actually, for a long time in the trilogy.
there's this fans are arguing that this was not planned, which probably wasn't, but that Palpatine coming back and then saying like, "Oh, I didn't want to kill you. I wanted you here," is a big plot hole because he already had plans for Anakin to rule the galaxy. Because either in the trilogy, either Palpatine died and Darth Vader and Luke were the new Sith Lords of the whole galaxy. No one could stop them then, or Luke kills Darth Vader, and then he's his new apprentice, which he is more stronger than him apparently. So then he has a stronger apprentice, which he moved like 3 apprentices throughout the prequels and trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that supposedly planning for Rey to come to what's the planet called? The Sith planet. That's a big plot hole, and why would he want her there? And supposedly it's like to take over her spirit and then live longer.
It sounded like that was his plan.
And supposedly he didn't die in the Death Star reactor or whatever. He switched his soul into a stormtrooper and then lived on through that, and that's why he's connected to the machines. And that makes it seem like it was part of the plan because he was looking for immortality this whole time. He said that he learned it from
His master.
his master. And it's kind of ironic how Rey and Kylo got the power to heal, and then Kylo brought back to life Rey because that's what Anakin was looking for. Kind of a little ironic right there, but yeah, supposedly there's a big plot hole with Palpatine wanting Rey to come back so she can either become the Emperor or he can take over her body.
Either way, it's still, even with the plot hole, it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
It could go either way, and it would still be good.
Another big thing is the whole Sith Council. I mean, like, who were those people? I mean, obviously, maybe Sith before them throughout the
Mhm.
history,
Or multiple.
but I really want to see that explained more.
They probably will.
Mm.
They probably have its own little side quest or show.
I think they also need to explain why the Rey heard all the Jedi's that she did, because supposedly the reason why Qui-Gon was so important is because he was the one that's trying to master the afterlife thing. That's why he doesn't show up as a ghost anymore, or like how Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Anakin do, because he never got to complete that training, and that's why he was like such an important part of like the whole Jedi
Talking
timeline.
to Rey.
Yeah. So
I
the
see
fact
what
that
you're
Mace Windu was there and all the other Jedi that she heard didn't make any sense because they never trained for it. It's not an automatic like, oh, every Jedi knows it. It's like you have to train for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't explain that, then that means they're kind of shitting on Qui-Gon. And like he's not important anymore. He's not really relevant.
I think they will.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully they do.
I mean, they did such a good job with every all these other little details,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure they have to give Qui-Gon justice
Yeah.
for his whole goal.
They're like if you ever really get into the shit, there's a shit little like Sith powers and Jedi powers are really dope. And you probably don't know anything about Darth Maul besides the way he looks and he's a double-sided Jedi, but he's really fueled by anger, and he's really fucking strong because he's fueled by that anger and he uses that throughout everything. And then he is supposedly plays a bigger part within Mandalorian history and everything like that. So you're gonna see more of that.
Hopefully, dude. I have no problem with him coming back or him just.
He's a dope looking character.
He is really cool.
Yeah.
He's cooler looking than what's his name? Palpatine.
Mm.
I thought he was gonna just be there more. Besides only one movie.
Actually, two. You haven't watched Solo yet, but he's in there towards the end. So you get to see him twice or three times.
Either way, I wouldn't have any problem with him coming back.
Yeah, he's like a kind of like a big part to like the whole movies. Just that they didn't show him as much. I think in the Clone Wars we'll see him more. And in the Clone Wars you'll see more of like a Jedi culture and like how the Sith have gone with like masters and apprentices.
Yeah. I also really wanna. I mostly wanna watch Clone Wars just to have more information about Star Wars,
Mhm.
but also
Because this is what I keep hearing, this is what I keep telling people, is that they fill in the gaps between each movie.
mm,
So I think it's an important like part of understanding more of what Star Wars is through the Clone Wars.
also what makes me want to watch the Clone Wars is the people who I watch the reaction channel.
Mm.
One of them is a big fan of Star Wars, well,
Mhm.
more than the other people watching it,
Right.
and he watched the Clone Wars.
Mm.
And when, what's her name? The Jedi with the dueling,
Ashoka,
I don't know, but her,
the one in the
Ashoka.
Mandalorian, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Ashoka, if that's her name. He was really excited when she showed up, when she's the Jedi that showed up in the Mandalorian,
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay, well, I knew she was in the Clone Wars because of all the thumbnails
Mm.
that they give
Yeah.
on the Clone Wars show.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I knew she was a Jedi,
Mhm.
but I wanted to have that excitement of
Mhm.
her showing up.
Oh yeah, I think it's very important for us to watch the Clone Wars in order to be excited for all the shows that are coming out now.
Yeah.
Because we have like 8 shows that are coming out now, and most of them are like sub characters or subcultures of Jedi or Star Wars, like all the movies. Like the Mandalorian is only related to Boba Fett. Like no one else knows anything about this. So like now the Mandalorian's getting some recognition. And then the black lightsaber, it's like completely part of their culture too. It has nothing to do with the movies. And so people are gonna get more educated on all these other characters now. Like Ashoka is important for some reason. I don't really know much about her either. But she's getting her own show and she's featured in the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian. So we already know that she's the shit.
Mm-hmm.
As we can tell with Yoda and Grogu.
Also, I didn't know this about her, but I mean, how would I? She has dual wielding swords, but one is shorter than the other.
One is what?
Shorter than the other. Which I'm like, cool. But also like, if I had that, I would be like, this makes me feel so off. Why is one shorter than the other? Why?
There's like no balance there.
I'd rather not have it.
Plus, is it one arm going to be stronger than the other?
I don't think it's based on weight. I mean,
the swing? I don't know, but
maybe.
Either way, there's a story behind that, and I'm curious. So.
Is her lightsaber blue?
No, I think they're both like white, yellow.
They look like a very light blue, and then white.
Mm.
White with just a tiny bit of blue in it.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that means something now.
Probably. I mean, again, could be a great Jedi.
Also, when it's like one scene where she does this, but when she activates her lightsaber, is it like two lightsabers connected? Because she's like, you.
I have no idea. I'm telling you, I don't know anything about her.
Either way, that's probably the dopest like lightsaber activation.
Mm.
Just pulling them out from each other. So cool.
That's cool. I mean, they're gonna get better with these graphics, dude. I've actually think that Star Wars has always done a good job of being on top of their graphics. Even in the 70s, when they were doing like clay models and like the figurines and everything, I think they did a good job for their fucking time.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, cause I'm talking as if I wasn't a really big fan of the original, but I want to say like, they did an amazing job for the time they made it, which was in the 70s, late 70s, and I just want to give them respect for what they did and with their budget. And with that being their first movies.
I mean, those creatures look disgusting, dog. And, like, I couldn't... Like, they were great. And then the iconic band. Yeah, like...
I'm so sad that they only showed up
one time? Yeah.
And I thought that was, like, a big, like, Star Wars theme.
Like, it is, but it's not reoccurring. That's something that I'm upset about.
Yeah, how did it become so iconic?
Dude, just the sound, man.
What?
Like, I would have that as a ringtone right now.
Yeah.
I think they tried to recreate that in the sequel, but it wasn't the same. When they go and meet the orange lady.
If they did, I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah, see, that's why it wasn't as good. They should have kept some type of rhythm going. But the soundtrack of Star Wars also very fucking good. The orchestra and all that shit.
Each and every one of them. I like how
like they have iconic soundtracks for Darth Vader. They have one for like when they're winning, or when like some eerie shit's about to happen.
I did tell you this before, but I like how even when there's just a tiny bit resemblance with Darth Vader, his theme is just always there. Whether it's a couple seconds or his theme is just played very slowly or in a with a different instrument,
Mm.
it's always there. You could always tell. You could always hear it.
Mm.
It's that seemed like so funny to me.
On brand, dude. They're on brand with this with their stuff.
But Mandalorian soundtrack. Ooh, bro, the soundtrack in Mandalorian, I love it.
To be honest, I can't really remember it.
Really?
No, I mean, if you played it, I'm pretty sure it would come back to me, but I don't. It's not as stuck into my head as like Darth Vader walking into a room or uh, a movie starting. You know.
I will always love the Mandalorian soundtrack, and I don't know if you noticed, but when I don't know if you noticed, but when the the dark troopers, the robot stormtroopers, their soundtrack is like dubstep, like all the way it's dubstep.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? I noticed that
I don't-
right away. I'm like,
To be honest,
oh
I
my
don't think I remember
God.
that.
I'm like, oh my god, this is fire! Like, it was so good. I loved it.
Damn, I'll have to like look that up later.
Yeah, I'll show you.
For sure, for sure. But yeah, dude, I'm excited for whatever's coming out. I mean, I'm pretty sure I would get more excited after watching the Clone Wars, but I'm excited for everything that's coming out.
I'm glad that I finally got to watch the whole Star Wars series. All,
Are you
all
a
10
fan, dude?
movies.
Are you a fan?
I'm finally a fan.
When did you become a fan? Like at one point, were you just like, ah, yeah, this is the one. This is the one right here.
Well, we started in chronological order. So, the first movie, I was like, okay, I'm curious on where this goes. Like at the end, when, what's his name, Anakin finally became a Padawan,
Mhm.
apprentice to Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm like, okay, I'm excited to see where that goes. And I'm pretty sure by the end, or somewhere in the second movie, I was a fan. I'm like, okay, I'm more than just curious on where this
Also,
goes.
episode 2 is like when you were just like, all right, I'm set, I'm hooked.
Yeah, because I think it helped me knowing who's who. And when I finally connected those dots, made connections with all the
Oh,
characters,
okay.
I think I'm like, oh, this is so good. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good for sure.
All right. So it's because you already knew like some spoilers already.
I knew some major plots to
Right.
the Star Wars series. I think that's when I became a fan. But if it weren't for all the knowledge of the plot, I think even without knowing anything, I think by the end of the second movie, I'd be a pretty fan.
You would be a pretty fan.
Thank you.
Have you seen all of Harry Potter?
No.
I've seen all of Lord of the Rings.
I've watched nothing of Lord of the Rings.
Me neither. Star Trek.
No.
No? Any other like big
Nothing.
series?
Nothing.
Okay. Because there's some people that they argue over which is a better series, Harry Potter or Star Wars. Somebody said ask you. So you're investing in Star Wars now?
I'm definitely invested in Star Wars. That's
Forever.
all. Oh yeah.
If they make movies in 30 years, you're gonna be like the first
Oh,
one.
dude, for sure.
Alright.
Dude, like, if, like, I'm definitely gonna be one of those people who, if, how do I explain this? You know how Star Wars first started in 1977
Yeah.
and then ended, the original trilogy ended in 1986,
Mm-hmm.
and then how many years later was...
It was in like 1990s, I think, or something. It was like I think they're all like 23 years separate,
Well,
or at least the prequels and the trilogies.
if the people who lived, who waited those 23 years until the next movie came out, I'm definitely gonna feel like one of those people.
You know, the Mandalorian, the actor, is one of those guys.
Really?
I think he was born in 1970s, some shit like that.
Damn.
Yeah.
And he grew up to become the Mandalorian.
He grew up like on this, like he's like he said it in this interview, or I think like Comic-Con. He said that I am a product of Star Wars. Like I grew up around this, and so when the guy brought me in, he texted me something. He's like, "Come in for something Star Wars," right? So he didn't tell me he got the part already. He came in. He's like, "Who do you want me to be? You want me to be like the robot or like the bug?"
And he's like, no. You're the
You're the
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian.
Bro,
he's like, ah, dude,
that guy,
the feels, dude.
the feeling that guy had will be something legendary that most people cannot feel.
I mean, a lot of people already know. If you're a part of Star Wars, you're part of something big.
Mm-hmm.
But if you grew up on this, it's like a different meaning for you. It's like the kid with the disability. I don't know if you've seen the Disney clip with me.
No, yeah. Who played the
Ewok?
The Ewoks,
yeah.
No, it's the Ewoks.
The
sure.
Ewoks. He played the Ewoks in the first movie, in the original trilogy, and then
And
he's like been cameos in like everything, dude. And, like I didn't know that, but like watching that happen, and his son is a smaller dude. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, yeah, I was with you when.
Yeah, so
watching it.
like that's like this has built in like connections to everyone, you know. And that's something else I like about Star Wars, or being part of something that's like really like you can really nerd out about.
I just keep thinking how what's his name? Pedro something. The guy who played Mandalorian. I just can't imagine how he felt when they told him that he got the part of the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
That must be such a crazy feeling.
Yeah, I mean like such like happiness fucking just flowing through your body, dude. Like how excited, like I can't imagine that. That's
like if me in like 2 decades grew up to act as a big part in that, I wouldn't feel the same as how he felt if he got of when he got the part, because I didn't grow up with Star Wars, and the fact that he was born and grew up when Star Wars started, and now he finally got the part of something big that involves Star Wars. I don't think there's barely any people out there that would have the feels.
I think my generation would be like the 90s kid would feel that way. Because it was, I think, like when the prequels came out, like everyone had like see the original trilogy, and like their parents were probably like, oh, like we know this, like.
Yeah, we kind of grew up with that.
Yeah, so they kind of like passed it on and watched it. So like I feel like a lot of people from like from the 90s would feel that way.
Yeah, because they grew up with the prequel.
And now with the
sequel,
with the sequels, kids that are watching it now, and they're just like, whoa, like all these like spaceships fighting each other like the Jedis and all that. Now they're creating yet another generation of mini Jedis.
Yes.
Younglings.
And I think every time they create another generation, it will still be crazier from the first generation. They know how big it is. They grew up with it, with the original, and I think it's a bigger deal for them.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
I'm definitely excited that I got into this universe, this whole new universe.
It's pretty great. I enjoy rewatching it, especially with you, and then our sister watching it for the first time too, actually. And then sooner or eventually our younger brother is gonna watch it, so just
excitement all around.
Yeah, I know they're gonna continue it, so I'm excited for that. I know they're focusing on the shows right now, but I know for a fact they're gonna keep on going with movies. Hopefully not overkill it, but it's gonna be great.
At some point, at some point, it's gonna go, not downhill, but it's it's just gonna go like slowly go down
Mhm.
and stay the same. Like if they come up with something better and like more impacting than these trilogies and all the connections they made,
Mm.
that would just blow my mind. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but I believe they could pull it off.
Watch them wait like 23 years just so like it's the same as the sequel and the trilogy like gap.
I would hate the fact that they do that.
Yeah, but it'd be dope at the same time.
Yeah, but it'd be more hated than liked. I feel like.
I mean, you have shows to keep you busy though. Those shows are gonna go on for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, you can be part of the May 4th. It's like Star Wars Day.
May the force be
Yeah.
with you. I mean, everybody knows that, but not everybody like has the connection with it.
Mm.
Of
Actually,
watching Star Wars.
I forgot the end of this line, but I wanted to tell you and maybe let some other people know of it. George Lucas said, you know how like in the beginning of the movie says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away?
Mhm.
At the ending of that tagline is supposed to be an incredible adventure took place. I think they should put that like towards the end of like a movie and just wrap it up. I think that'd be dope.
I can't see it ending like that, but like, cause I'm like, where would they fit that in, and how? Cause in all the movies they end it with like the circle closing in, like a PowerPoint
yeah.
circle closing in.
These transitions of PowerPoint, yeah.
But I'm like, I'm trying to see where would they put that in, but I know for sure that they could pull it off.
I mean, every Star Wars starts like that in the galaxy far away.
Yeah.
So like if you just
that's the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
Nothing
so
has happened.
if you close it like that though, like the whole story wraps up.
That's true. I could
and
I could
Amazing
see it.
Adventure takes place. I don't know. It would hit me in the feels because I know the fact that like he wrote that in the original script. You know.
I think it would definitely be better. I don't think there's like any bad that would come from that. Their ending with a circle, if they just faded it, and then put what was it? An amazing adventure took place.
Yeah, I think that's what it said.
If they ended like that, I think people would be like,
That's an incredible adventure.
an incredible adventure took place. I think
I
it
would
ended
just
like that.
I would get goosebumps honestly if I saw that. And the same writing with the stars behind and everything. Dot
Yeah.
dot dot.
Definitely, I would too.
But officially, you're a fan. You are part of the
I
Star
now
Wars.
know I could argue more
Yep.
about a whole big different topic.
And every time you watch it, you're gonna like think about something different within the.
If I were to watch all 10 movies again, I would be more excited. Definitely now knowing more knowledge and more details about the whole plot and story of Star
There
Wars.
is huge communities. I mean, bunch of YouTube videos that you can watch about this. Like they all like break down everything. They all argue about who's the better Jedi, which is a better fight. Would Darth Vader beat Yoda? Like,
I feel like if I start, I wouldn't be able to end.
yeah, it's a huge rabbit hole. There's theories that Yoda is the father of Grogu.
Grogu.
And then there's other character which is a girl version of Yoda, and has something to do with Anakin, and supposedly that Anakin saved Grogu, that he's the reason why he lived, because he killed all the younglings. So there's a bunch of shit that you can just dive into, and you probably won't get out of it for a long time because this has been going for or since 1977.
Centuries.
Yeah, centuries. So good luck, dog.
Wait, centuries. Decades, I mean, not a century.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there.
You're like, yeah, centuries, bro. 100.
But yeah, we have a new fan in the Star Wars community. This has been Unfamiliar Ceilings, our first episode.
Damn, we're just gonna end it like that.
Yep, like that. Okay.